My name is Richard, and I need to tell you something I should have understood 35 years ago. I built a business empire worth $180 million. I had the penthouse office overlooking the city. I had the vacation home in Aspen. I had the luxury cars, the country club membership, the respect of every businessman in my industry. Forbes called me a visionary. Harvard Business School used my company as a case study. Young entrepreneurs lined up at conferences just to shake my hand and ask how I did it. But here's what none of them knew. While I was building that empire, brick by brick, deal by deal, I was losing my daughter, not to tragedy, not to illness. I lost her to my own choices, to my obsession with success, to my belief that providing financially was the same as being present. And by the time I realized what I'd done, she was already gone. I'm 72 years old now. The empire's still here. The money's still in the bank. But 3 weeks ago, I sat at my daughter's wedding and listened to her give a speech thanking me for showing up, not for being her father, not for raising her, not for any memories we shared. She thanked me for showing up, like I was a guest, like I was someone she invited out of obligation, not love. And in that moment, in front of 200 people, I finally understood what I'd lost. And if you're out there right now, grinding away, telling yourself your kids will understand, telling yourself you're doing this for them, telling yourself you'll make it up to them later, I need you to hear this story, because I told myself the exact same lies, and I was wrong about everything. Let me take you back to 1987. I was 37 years old, married to my college sweetheart Jennifer, and I'd just secured the funding to start my own software company. Everyone thought I was insane to leave my stable job at IBM, but I could see where technology was heading. I could see the opportunity, and I was determined to build something that mattered. The first 7 years were absolutely brutal. 90, sometimes 100-hour weeks. I'd leave the house at 5 a.m. I'd come home at midnight. Jennifer would already be asleep. I missed dinners, weekends, holidays, but she supported me. Or at least, I thought she did. She'd say, "Do what you need to do. We'll get through this." And I believed her. I genuinely believed that once the company was profitable, once we'd made it, everything would balance out. We'd have time then. That's the lie every entrepreneur tells themselves. In 1989, our daughter Rebecca was born. I was in a pitch meeting with venture capitalists when Jennifer went into labor. My business partner had to physically drag me out of that conference room. I made it to the hospital, but I was distracted the entire time. In the delivery room, I was thinking about the deal, about the terms, about whether we'd close the funding round. I held my daughter for maybe 10 minutes before I went back to the office to finish the presentation. I told myself I'd make it up to her. I told myself this sacrifice was temporary. I told myself I was building her future, securing her education, giving her opportunities I never had. All the things fathers tell themselves when they're choosing work over presents. The pattern started immediately and never stopped. I missed her first words because I was at a trade show in Las Vegas. I missed her first steps because I was closing an acquisition in New York. I missed her first day of preschool, her elementary school plays, her soccer games, her piano recitals. There was always a reason, always a meeting, always a crisis, always something that felt urgent in the moment but that I can't even remember now. I have this memory that absolutely destroys me. Rebecca was maybe 8 years old. She'd spent all afternoon making a card for me, drew a picture of us holding hands, wrote "I love my daddy" in her shaky handwriting. She brought it to my home office, where I was on a conference call with Tokyo. She stood in the doorway, holding that card, waiting for me to notice her. I held up one finger. "Just a minute, sweetheart." She waited maybe 30 seconds. Then she quietly set the card on my desk and left. I found that card years later when I was packing up my home office after the divorce. She'd written on the back, "You're always busy, but I love you anyway." She was 8 years old. And instead of recognizing that as a cry for attention, I just kept working. I kept telling myself it would all be worth it. By 1997, we'd done it. The company went public. I was worth $40 million on paper. We moved into a mansion in the suburbs. We took our first real family vacation in 8 years. 2 weeks in Italy. I remember thinking, see, it was all worth it. Now we can finally be a family. But something had fundamentally shifted. Rebecca was 8 years old, and she barely knew me. On that vacation, she didn't want to do anything with me. She wanted her mum. When I suggested activities, she'd look to Jennifer for approval first. When I tried to take her hand crossing the street, she pulled away. I'd become a stranger to my own daughter, and I couldn't even see it. I told myself it was just a phase. Kids go through phases, right? Once she's older, once she's a teenager, we'll connect. We'll bond. That magical later I kept waiting for. The work never stopped. Even as the company grew, even as I could have stepped back, I didn't. Because by then, the work had become my identity. I wasn't just building a company anymore. I was proving something. To my father who said I'd fail. To the investors who doubted me. To myself. The company became my whole world, and my family became background noise. 2003. Rebecca was in middle school. She stopped asking me to come to her events. She stopped showing me her report cards. She stopped trying to tell me about her day. She'd learned that I wasn't available, that my attention was always somewhere else, that she couldn't compete with my phone, my laptop, my endless meetings. And instead of recognizing that as a crisis, I felt relieved, less guilt when I worked late if she wasn't waiting for me anyway. Jennifer tried to warn me. I remember one night she said, "You're losing her, Richard. She doesn't know you, and soon she's not going to want to know you." I got defensive. I said I was providing for us. I said she had everything she needed. I said I was building generational wealth. All the rationalizations, all the excuses. And Jennifer just looked at me with this sadness and said she doesn't need wealth. She needs a father. But I didn't listen. In 2006, we sold the company to a larger tech firm for $180 million. I thought this was it. This was the finish line. Now I could finally slow down, spend time with my family, be the father and husband I'd always meant to be. Except by then, Rebecca was 17 years old. She was filling out college applications. She had her own life, her own friends, her own world that I wasn't part of. And when I tried to suddenly be involved, asking about her college essays, wanting to visit campuses together, she just stared at me like I was a stranger who'd suddenly shown interest. "You don't get to do this now," she said. "You don't get to suddenly care." Those words hit me like a punch to the chest. But even then, I didn't fully understand. I thought she was just being a moody teenager. I thought she'd get over it. She went to Stanford, 3,000 miles away. I told myself it was because of the program, because of the opportunities. But deep down, I knew she wanted distance from me. In 2008, Jennifer asked for a divorce, 21 years of marriage, and she was done. Not because of another man, not because of any dramatic betrayal, simply because, as she put it, "I've been married to your company, not to you, and I'm tired of being alone." I couldn't argue with her. She was absolutely right. I'd been physically present, but emotionally absent for 2 decades. I'd given her financial security, but no partnership, no intimacy, no real marriage. She'd raised our daughter essentially as a single mother, while I chased deals and built empires. After the divorce, I tried to rebuild my relationship with Rebecca. I called her every week. I flew out to California. I took her to expensive dinners, but you can't buy back time. You can't purchase connection with a credit card. She was polite, cordial, but distant. We'd talk about surface things, her classes, the weather, safe topics that required no vulnerability. What we didn't talk about was all the moments I'd missed, all the times she'd needed me, and I wasn't there, all the ways I'd chosen work over her, again and again and again. That pain lived between us like a wall I didn't know how to climb. Over the next 10 years, I watched her life from the sidelines. She graduated college. I was there in the audience. She got her first job. She called Jennifer to tell her. She moved to New York. She asked her mum to help her apartment hunt. I was kept at arm's length, given updates after decisions were made, consulted on nothing that actually mattered. 3 months ago, she called to tell me she was engaged to a man I'd met exactly twice. She sounded happy, excited, and then she said, "We're having a small wedding, just family and close friends. I wanted to let you know you're invited." Invited to my own daughter's wedding. Like I was an acquaintance. Like my presence was optional. I said, "Congratulations." I said I'd be there. I said whatever fathers are supposed to say. But after we hung up, I sat in my empty house and felt the full weight of what I'd done. She wasn't asking me to walk her down the aisle. She wasn't asking for my blessing. She was inviting me out of obligation, out of the societal expectation that fathers attend their daughters' weddings. Not because she wanted me there. The wedding was 3 weeks ago. Beautiful ceremony in upstate New York. Maybe 200 people. I sat in the third row, not the front. I watched her father, her actual father, the man who'd coached her softball team and helped with her homework and been there for every moment I'd missed, walk her down the aisle, Jennifer's second husband, Mark, a high school teacher who makes maybe $70,000 a year, but who showed up for my daughter every single day for the last 10 years. At the reception, Rebecca gave a speech. She thanked her mother for everything, for being her rock, for showing her what strength looks like, for being both parents when she needed it. She thanked Mark for stepping into her life and loving her like his own daughter, for being at every graduation and every celebration. She talked about how grateful she was for the people who'd shaped her into who she is today. And then she looked at me, directly at me, sitting at a table in the back. And she said, "I also want to thank my biological father, Richard, for showing up today. It means a lot." That was it. Thank you for showing up. Not thank you for being my dad. Not thank you for raising me. Not a single memory. Not a single moment we'd shared. Just acknowledgement that I'd physically attended her wedding. Like I was a distant relative who'd made the trip. People clapped politely. They had no idea what those words meant. But I knew, and she knew. And in that moment, surrounded by all those people celebrating her happiness, I understood with absolute clarity what I'd lost. I'd spent 35 years building an empire worth $180 million, and I'd lost my daughter in the process. Not to death, not to distance. I lost her to my own choices, to every meeting I'd chosen over her, to every work crisis I'd prioritized above her childhood, to the lie I'd told myself that success meant financial achievement rather than human connection. After the wedding, I tried to talk to her. I said we should have lunch soon, we should talk. She smiled, that polite, distant smile, and said, "Sure, Dad, I'll check my calendar." But I know what that means. That's what you say to acquaintances you have no intention of seeing. That's the polite brush-off. I'm 72 years old now. I live alone in a condo in Chicago. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. I have a resume full of achievements and awards and recognition. And none of it matters. None of it. Because I have a daughter who's a stranger. A daughter who invited me to her wedding out of obligation. A daughter who thanked me for showing up like it was a surprise I'd even bothered. And I earned every bit of that distance. Every bit of that pain. Here's what took me 72 years to learn. Success isn't what you build. It's who you build it with. It's who you build it for. Money is worthless if the people you love don't want to spend time with you. Achievement means nothing if you're celebrating alone. I see men today, young men in their 30s and 40s, making the exact same mistakes I made, working 80-hour weeks, missing bedtimes, missing recitals, missing the small everyday moments that actually build relationships. And they all say the same thing I said, I'm doing this for them. Once I hit this goal, I'll have more time. Just a few more years. But it never works that way, because there's always another goal, always another promotion, always another deal. The finish line keeps moving. And meanwhile, your kids are growing up without you, learning that they can't depend on you, learning that your work matters more than they do. And by the time you look up, by the time you finally decide you're ready to be present, they're already gone, Not physically, but emotionally. They've built lives without you. They've learned to stop needing you, and you can't get that back. No amount of money can buy back your daughter's childhood. No achievement can make up for the moments you missed. If I could go back and talk to my 37-year-old self, here's what I'd say. That deal can wait. That meeting can be rescheduled. That email can be answered tomorrow. But your daughter's childhood is happening right now. Her need for you is right now. And once these moments pass, they're gone forever. Your company will survive if you leave at 5 o'clock. The world will keep turning if you take a vacation. But your daughter won't stay 7 years old. She won't always want to hold your hand. She won't always make you cards and wait in the doorway, hoping you'll notice her. There's a window where you're her hero, where your presence is magic to her, where she wants nothing more than your attention and your time. And that window closes. And once it's closed, you can't pry it back open with money or guilt or sudden interest. I'd trade everything, every dollar, every achievement, every award, for the chance to go back and actually be there, to put down the phone, to close the laptop, to say you're more important than this meeting, to be the father she needed instead of the businessman I wanted to be. But I can't go back. All I can do is sit here at 72 years old, alone in my expensive condo, and hope that someone hears this and makes a different choice. So if you're out there right now reading this, and you're telling yourself you'll make it up to them later, I'm begging you, don't wait. Don't tell yourself tomorrow. Don't believe the lie that success requires sacrifice of your family. Close your laptop. Leave the office. Go home. Have dinner with your kids. Ask them about their day. And actually listen. Be present. Be there. Not physically there while mentally somewhere else. Actually there. Because I promise you, 20 years from now, you won't remember what that project was. But your daughter will remember whether you showed up. And 35 years from now, when she's standing at her wedding, you want her to thank you for being her father, for being present, for loving her well. Not just for showing up. I built an empire, and I lost everything that mattered. Don't make the same mistake. Learn from me. Choose differently, because the cost of success isn't worth it if you end up alone.